to play it?
Hello, we've got our good friend Marcus Allen Frishman. How are you, Mr. Frishman? Mr. Frishman, Mr. Frishman.
Well, Archie, I'm Marcus Allen Frishman, and you're not.
I'm not.
Welcome to the show.
Today, I wanted to talk to you. I really wanted to make a show because you're a wise guy. You're a very, when I don't mean like a mafia connection wise guy. Sorry. Not the, you're a wise, you are a guy who has lived life. You've had some ups and downs.
Mostly
and
up.
You've enjoyed many wonderful things. And I think, to be honest with you, you are your own worst enemy. You are your own worst enemy. But I got to be honest with you. I like you. I like you a lot. Okay. And
I like you, Archie. You're somebody I've.
Someone said, why do I do these streams? Is it money? Is it this? I said, well, I'm just trying to add some variety. Variety to my show. Okay, I want to add variety. Okay, variety. I want to add some variety.
You know, I asked my last girlfriend that. She says she likes variety. Here I am. I'm a variety public.
I gotta ask you. You live a good life. You live a comfortable life. You know something. I gotta tell you. I was reading over the last week, something came into my feed and it said most people, anyone over 50 is considered an older worker, older aged worker. Do you consider yourself older aged person?
Well, first we have to always give you the generic answer. One never asks a gentleman his age. However, presuming I am either close to, at, or over 50, I would say no to that question.
Oh, I feel the same way too. I just find it really shocking that it seems to be your prime is mid to late 30s, early 40s, and then you become chopped liver. You become chopped liver. And
but remember, Archie, remember the video. We've talked about it several times, a couple of times in depth. I've told you I am a forever boy. I am a puer aeternus. Look it up. It's Latin. I have never grown up, and people will initially hear that conclusion and say some outrageous stuff because that's fairly outrageous. Fair enough. But
it didn't work for Michael Jackson well. Let's just say that.
He had a different dynamic, but there's a different reason. I think when you marry, and I haven't, when you get a family, and I have chosen not to, when you do that, rather than do what I do, long-term, solid, long-term committed relationships, no casual stuff in my life. When you do that and you're dating women, because that's a big part of your life, your romantic connection, when you're dating women between the ages of 13 and 28, with one exception that was older, you stay young. You have to be young. And let's make up clarity on this point. That is my lifetime dating age. I was 15 and a half when my girlfriend of 2 years was, when I met her, just over 13 years old. But in an adult dating age, I prefer 21 to 28. I have never started a relationship with a woman in my life over 24. And I have never been with a woman, except one exception, with any woman over 28. My relationship have lasted 14 to 4 years, I guess is short. Back to back, I've been single about 3 years, I estimate.
You
Since
know
I've
what
been.
they say when you go inside to jail, prison.
Uh-huh.
They say your mental age pauses whilst you're in prison.
Well, I'm
So
speechless.
it's like
It's not part of
you're
my expertise, but it could be you freeze when your life components of work, love, hobbies. I suppose all you have in prison is some fellowship and God. So it definitely limits your ability to grow.
Let's talk about things here. I want to ask you some advice. What advice do you wish you could tell your 21-year-old younger self? If you could have that ability to bestow some wisdom onto a young math,
I've
what would
thought of
you
it.
say?
Well, there are different categories of advice. Let's go to finance and income. I would have, if I had to do it over again, I would have saved more money and invested money. Now, I've made a couple of significant investments in my life and they returned well, but they are 2 times. I would have been an investor and I would have saved and rather than my current situation in life and throughout my life, I have made money and I have spent it. Oh, sure, we have a chunk of savings all the time in our life. But I will tell you right now, had I done this with investments and proper allocations of saving my income, I would probably own a $43 million jet. And that's what they cost for the good one. And the reason I don't have a jet, my dream in life, always my dream, but I never pursued it because
You wanted a jet. You wanted a jet. That's a dream.
All my life. When I was younger, I got a taste of private flight, and you do that once. At least I did, and that was the end of it. But it's unattainable in my current financial situation. Now, could I rent a jet? Sure. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the purchase of a jet, and that is true wealth. People have no idea what jets cost to maintain.
Do you have friends who have jets?
Oh, yes. I've glued myself to them. I have several friends with jets and several clients with jets. I have also a set of clients that rent jets, and I have one friend that rents jets. It's not the same.
What's your favorite jet at the moment?
Oh, a G5. Unless they're G6. Oh, yeah.
You're a Gulfstream man.
That's me.
What's wrong with the Learjet? What's wrong with Learjet?
It's so overrated, and it's
Learjet.
Yeah. I would personally like to have a Cessna. One of the top of the line models where I could
like a Cessna Citation.
Leapfrog to Florida with a Cessna. That would be a fun. It's like driving Route 66. It would be a fun thing. But the key thing, and let's take this a little seriously, because your question is serious and people are listening. If you're young, put some percentage of your income away. I didn't do that. I still haven't. I spend what I earn or close to it. And that's not a good thing, but too late to reverse it. I'm a man that loves luxury goods, luxury homes, luxury things. And I spend it. And I really haven't saved significantly, and I haven't invested significantly. So it was a mistake. That's a big mistake.
We got our first super chat in $2. Black Cat 997.
Thank you, Black Cat 997.
MILFs FTW.
Archie, remind me, what is a MILF?
Okay, so MILFs. MILFs FTW is for the win. Okay. So he's basically talking about women who have children who he still finds sexually desirable.
Oh, lucky for him. He's a blessed man. I wouldn't get near a woman with a baby for all the money.
Well, it can also be. It can also be she's had children. Like the children could be grown up. That could have been years ago.
Yes, that would be not something I'd be inclined to be associated with either. But to each their own. And I think you're blessed if you want to be with a woman with a child. There are many men that will take on women.
I think he's talking about. He said they're more sexier because they've had children. Kind of like not so much looking after the children, but
again,
women.
He may be right.
The genre.
Right. It's a genre of women I've never. I dated one woman in college. Her name was Kim. Between relationships, very short. I dated her named Kim. We're still in touch. We still talk. And she had a baby at a very young age. I met her in Palm Springs at a phone booth. Well, it wasn't a phone. It was in the hotel. She was on the public phone. And I met her named Kim. We became dating partners. I was single for a brief moment at that point in college. And we've stayed in touch. She renewed her acquaintance years ago. But I had no interaction with her children. I've never had interaction with anyone's children because that was the last and only time I ever connected with a woman that had a child.
You know Bill Gates and Warren Buffett personally?
No, I have access to Bill Gates through political contacts. In other words, I was once potentially taking on a client that needed to have a meeting with Bill Gates, and we didn't do it, but we could have set it up. But no, I don't know either of these people personally.
Okay,
they're not. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett really don't travel in the circles I travel in. It's a different group,
different cliche.
Oh yeah.
Tell me this: with yourself there, how do you abstain from sexual relationships from women you're dating? How do you handle that?
Oh, all right. Well, may I follow up with your first question on love? Regarding your first question, something I tell my 20-year-old self or 19-year-old self, it took me till about when I was 24, 25 to learn that you need to date women who are like you, the same values, the same lifestyle. Because when you have women that are like you, you don't have to change them, which is a problem in a relationship. You don't have contentious relationships. You'll have relationships like I've had since after college. Harmony. That's the key. I haven't had a relationship that wasn't full of harmony to the very end, even after college. Pre-college, I had more contentious relationships because I picked opposites. So that's a bit of advice on the left side. Now, with regard to the publicly known announcement I made that I have been asexual, abstaining since about 1990-91. It's not clear what year it was exactly. It's easy for me because the women I have been in long-term committed relationships, and since that date, I estimate I've been single. It's hard to say exactly, 3 or 4 months. That's a long time ago, and very few times was I single. But in those relationships, every one of them but one was a virgin. So that makes it easy. If you date virgin women, they are less inclined to pressure you for sex. You might say, well, okay, what about the desire? Well, I don't think I have strong sexual desires. I've not been sexually driven in any relationship. That's not to say we aren't intimate. That's a different story. I'm highly intimate. I think sensuality, intimate relations with a woman is critical and a necessary component of the relationship. And without it, you don't have a real committed love relationship. You have something like brother and sister. So understand, when someone says they're abstinent, they're talking about the full act of sexual intercourse. And since 1991, I have abstained.
We like the Bill Clinton definition of sexual intercourse.
Well, that's kind of what I believe it's a true definition, and I believe his definition of sex. The question to him was, I didn't have, his answer was, I didn't have sex with that woman. It was absolutely true in my book. He did not have sex with Miss, by all accounts, and according to her, and according to that definition, which is mine as well.
Let me ask you this. So, okay, fair enough. I think you've answered that there. I want to ask you something there in your own life itself there.
Yes, sir.
Would you have bought more watches or less watches
If
you were redoing things from scratch?
more watches.
Yeah. Cars, more cars or less cars in your life?
I don't think I would, and I have, 2 vehicles. I don't think I would. I have a friend. I just went out with him. He was a former client. He has a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, 2 Jaguars, and some other cars. I don't think I would ever be a car collector.
Yes. But you like a nice car. You like a nice car.
Yeah, no, I've always had. My father bought me my first car. It was nice. He bought me a second car, a third car, a fourth car. And as you know, I rented luxury cars. I don't know how many, 8 or 9 or 10 of them. And I took them out even when I had my own luxury car. And one of them I didn't return and got charged with a misdemeanor. But later, of course, the charges were dropped, or rather the language in the order of the judge dismissed. And
do you wish when your parents were still supporting you, you had been more wiser with their money?
Yes, I do. I think if I was wiser with their money, I would have had a inheritance. There's a story behind that, but without being wise with their money, I had no inheritance. And as my sisters said, as they stole the inheritance,
you got your inheritance years ago.
Yeah, you knew the line. You got your inheritance years ago. So, that's the way it went. I didn't put up a fuss. I got my check, my small check from them, and some goodies in a box from my dead parents, from my sisters, and that was it. I by the way, I will remind my sisters, if they're watching, I love them. One's dead, but they could be watching from heaven. The other one recently died, and one's alive, unexpectedly in an operation. She had no medical condition
sad.
Killed her yet. Sad, but I like to remind them both, I'm an only child. Get it, Archie?
Yes. Yes. Well, and you explained it because there was such a big gap between when they were living at home.
Over 20 years, they're out of the house, they're married. I essentially was raised without their association. And I have no hard feelings. We don't communicate much with the sister that's living. I called her recently, and we had a little chat, and that was it.
I would really appreciate if you were my brother there, Math.
Yes.
You're like a wiser
Archie,
uncle.
the truth is, I always say blood is a poor, this is my line, blood is a poor excuse to have relations with people, because true relations have no connection to blood. They have connection to common interests, things you get along with. And you and I would be, people say that we're brothers of a different mother. I see it repeatedly on the comments over and over.
We got a super chat, Black Cat 997, $2. Did the CIA kill JFK?
No, but I think the files came out, the last of them, thanks to Trump. Golden age of Trump is releasing records like mad. And in those records, we learn that there was a CIA significant connection, and that can be explained what that means, to Lee Harvey Oswald. He was their asset, not an agent. There's a difference. You got to look it up. But that had not been confirmed. It had been presumed, alluded to. Others had disputed it, but it is now absolute, among a few other not smoking guns. But yeah, they definitely wanted him dead. But that's how it goes. The Martin Luther King files that were released, something interesting to note, the Martin Luther King Jr., who, by the way, is a junior son, Martin Luther King Jr. 2, or whatever his title is, he is a very reasonable person. And he recently announced with the other relative, I'm forgetting who that is, sister, brother, uncle, somebody, he and the other one put out a statement disavowing the FBI's release of the records of his assassination. That says a lot. And the reason they did that is those records are from the J. Edgar Hoover days, and they were spying on him, and of course discovered a lot of negative personality traits of Martin Luther King and what he did in his relationship with people and women, and they documented it. And they've now released all of that for gossip, people of gossip, which we don't do here. And we have complete respect for Martin Luther King and what he did. He was a great man.
We have another super chat here. Green Rush 4313 $20. White gold Daytona, white gold Pepsi, or steel on Jubilee, or from Gray. Which one is the best?
Steel Jubilee Pepsi is in the list of
$20. This is Green Rush. Is this your friend?
Well, that's why we're going to answer the question slowly and methodically. So the Pepsi Steel, my friend, white gold has a nice look over stainless steel. Fair enough. But it's not significant enough and never noticeable enough to be worth the value. And there's no such thing as white gold, for God's sakes. It's a mixture. It's a fake thing. It's not, in many places that sell white gold, they coat it with, now Rolex doesn't do this. They have an amalgamation, a mixture, but most coat it with iridium. You get yellow gold. Yes. I have a white gold ring. I have a white gold ring coated with iridium. As I understand it, Archie's the pontiff on this, not me. They don't, Rolex, as an example, doesn't coat it in iridium. They blend it and mix it with metals like iridium and others that make the whole thing.
They've changed the formula a bit from the old days when they used to dip
when
it.
They used to just
it wasn't yellow gold underneath. It was never yellow gold underneath. It was white. It was white, but it didn't have the shine, so they would dip it, as you said there. But it was still.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, if you're going to spend money on something that looks like stainless steel, and it's not, I love titanium. This is now, you people that only focus on luxury watches, God bless you. I have plenty of them. I have 100 watches or so, but I have a titanium Oris in front of me. It's my favorite island hopping watch. I take it. This watch has been to Boracay Island 64 times, or whatever the number is. That's close to that. And I love this watch. It's an anniversary edition of some sort. And it is titanium, like so many of my watches are. I'm wearing a watch Archie's going to hate. If we're talking about watches, here it is. Archie's going to hate this. I'm wearing a Ralph Lauren designer watch from the Ralph Lauren website, and they have pictures of it with the metal bracelet, but you can't get the metal bracelet. I had to call a manager at a Rolex store in New York who contacted the vice president of watches, and he found a metal bracelet in his desk, and he sent it to me separate from the watch order. They're using cloth.
Did they charge you for it?
Yeah, well, I didn't pay extra for it. And Archie, I'm forgetting if this is a $2,000 or $3,000 watch. Maybe it's only $1,800. You can look it up. It's right on their website. Some of them have nice little polo bears on it. The polar bear, they call it the polo bear. It's not a polar bear.
Yes, it's very expensive. They charge a lot for the bears.
And they're overpriced. I'm not even convinced this watch could be waterproofed, but water resistant even. I don't wear this one. I wear watches in the shower. I actually took it off today. I've been wearing this for about a week. One last thing about this watch. I get more compliments on this watch than any watch I wear. And I have all the luxury brands except for Patek Philippe and a few others. But yeah, this is the watch. It's beautiful. I love it. It's a nice watch. It's on the website at Ralph Lauren right now.
Interesting to see there. I gotta say, if I had a choice, white gold Daytona, white gold Pepsi, or steel Pepsi on Jubilee, all from grey, which one? I think the best bang per buck is the white gold Daytona on
I'll
the
take it.
bracelet with the blue dial. That seems to be the least loved. So it's the it's really quite a great bang per buck. Which one would I like? If you said to me, which one do you want, Archie? I can tell you, I personally love the white gold Pepsi. White gold Pepsi, white gold Pepsi. I think that is beautiful. But hey, there you go.
I've been trying to buy
let me answer the question. If you could get one at retail, you'd want the steel Pepsi on Jubilee. If you could buy it from the AD. If you're buying on the secondary, what's the best bang per buck?
White gold Daytona.
White gold Daytona with the blue dial. If you're asking me which one would I like from it, I can have one. Archie can have one. I would take the white gold Pepsi.
I would too. If I could just have anyone at no cost to me, the white gold Pepsi would be my choice. I've tried to buy the Pepsi at a reasonable price, and it is impossible right now, even still. And that's okay. Even with my relationships with Polachek Jewelers, I bought 5 Rolexes there. I can't get a Rolex from them.
No, that's very, very fair point there. We've got another super chat. Black Cat 9972 bucks. Was Epstein with Mossad? What do you think?
Well, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat who Donald Trump appointed to be the head of 17 intelligence, pardon me, it's been adjusted, 18 intelligence agencies in America. 18.
That's right, because the president can appoint Democrats, can't he?
He can appoint anyone he wants. And those are...
It's happened in history, hasn't it? They often have picked
very rarely. She was a Democrat from Hawaii. She was a congresswoman. She's a former military. She ran for president, did better than, in my opinion, Kamala Harris did the first time. And she's a genius. She's fabulous. I would never dream that Donald Trump would have appointed her to dog catcher, but he did. He appointed her to the top position. She controls every intelligence agency in the world, and it's a pyramid, and she's called the Director of Intelligence. CIA, military intel, everything. She controls it all. National Security Agency, all of our 18 agencies. She announced just the other day, really the first time someone asked the question, is he connected to any intelligence agency in the world, either as an asset or an employee? And she said she has seen nothing that indicates that. Now, the Attorney General has been asked the same question. And the only reason the Attorney General would even know is she's reviewing some of the files for release. And she said she has seen nothing connecting Jeffrey. I think sometimes, here's what they left off. Sometimes security is so secret that there's an inability to keep historic record of the secrets. So they just don't know by virtue of how they've structured the system. You understand? I've been involved with intelligence. I understand that. So it's hard to say for sure, but they are going to be doing more releases, and we'll find out more about Mr. Epstein later.
Tell me this. I want to ask you something. Math.
Yes.
Why have none of the presidents spoken or released any information on aliens?
Well, it's funny. If you do the Google search, you'll see Ronald Reagan talked about an alien force coming after the world and uniting us as a world in a speech. You see Barack Obama saying one day, if I told you, I'd have to kill you in an interview. And if he actually said that. And Bill Clinton said he did his best to get all the information he could, but in the end, he can't discuss it. And then George Bush said the same thing. He was briefed, but he can't talk about it. So you do a deep dive and you find out Donald Trump's son has done videos on this. Dad, can you figure this one out? Can we go to Area 51? If you know what that is, it's a location.
Yes.
All right. So look, one thing at a time. Things are happening so fast with Donald Trump, unlike any other president in the world that we've ever had in the history of America. He is accomplishing many things per day. It's not just one a day or one a month. And I think he'll get to that. We'll see. There is a committee in Congress right now interviewing government employees and whistleblowers on the alien connection, and they have testified that America is in control of alien bodies. These are valid security clearanced employees, and they have spoken publicly in Congress. Look it up and watch the videos. But it goes.
Let me ask you this: have you spoken? You don't need to name them. Have you spoken to senior politicians who have told you about the presence of aliens? Extraterrestrials, aliens.
Congressmen and senators who believe there are alien relics. They're now relics, saucers, flying machines, whatever you want to call them, and alien bodies in our possession at Edwards Air Force Base or Area 51 or other locations.
Who would be the man who would be able to get access to that? Would the president have access to that? Or would it be the head of the military? Who's in charge of Area 51? That's Air Force, isn't it?
Yes, it's an Air Force base.
Who would be the one who to know? The head of Air Force or the president or the CEO? Who's the person you'd need to ask?
The guys that are changing the ice packs on the aliens that are in deep freeze. Those would be the ones that would know. And the guys who are reverse engineering, if they're still doing it, the alien technologies. And there are people like that testifying at Congress right now. There is a gap in the intelligence, but ultimately the president of the United States has access, theoretically anyway, to everything. And his director of intelligence would be at the next level, and then it trickles down from there.
Can the president of the United States start thermonuclear war?
Well, sure, he carries with him. I've been a driver in a vice presidential motorcade and a presidential motorcade. I don't know if you know this, but in presidential motorcades, they actually allow non-government employees to drive the vehicle if it's a vehicle of political staff accompanying the president that are also non-government employees, because our government doesn't commingle its activity with politics and government. So they'll get people. Clearly, you have to be cleared and have security clearances and background checks. I did it twice with Vice President Dan Quayle. And when I was 16 years old, just fresh out of driving school, the president of the United States was Gerald R. Ford. I drove in his motorcade as well. Having said that, sitting in a room in a hotel on Wilshire Boulevard next to MacArthur Park, I forget the name of the hotel, it's probably changed by now. I think it's a Sheraton now. We had the vice president had a meeting, and he had to go into this meeting, and the entire vice presidential staff were put into a waiting room. It's an office, essentially, cleared for the president. When we arrived, it was all set up with communications to communicate with any world leader. This is the vice president, who only triggers into action when there is no president. But we were fully equipped in that room to launch nuclear war. How do I know? I sat on a sofa next to the very well-decorated military man that was selected by the vice president to carry what's called the football. There are two footballs, to my knowledge. The president has one. It is usually within reach of him. You will see it if you look at pictures and videos. It's a In those days, it was an actual briefcase. Now it is a satchel, a soft leather satchel. And in it is the device that can link to launch nuclear weapons and the codes, which are kept on, at the time, cards on a ring that he was flipping and looking at it, but who knows why. And I was joking with him about it. He had no sense of humor, of course. And I just realized I should stop talking to the man. But he was sitting next to me playing with his football, which is a briefcase, hard boxed, and he opened it up and there's all these devices. Now, the secondary option is a vehicle that is also equipped with this technology to launch nuclear weapons. And then the plane, Air Force One and the Doomsday jet and the other third jet, I'm forgetting the name of, all are equipped. And then his locations are physically equipped, and it's all set up before he comes. It's an amazing array of complication.
We've got a massive super chat. Green Rush. $100.
Green Rush has become my hero. He's the smartest man of the day.
Honestly, you two guys deserve super chats from everyone that comes on. Archie and Marcus, people send in money. Don't be so cheap. Let's help support these.
Thank you, Green Rush. And I want to assure you, I don't receive this. This is Archie's money. Archie deserves this. He's been on a long time, and he tries to make people happy, and he tries to entertain people, and he gives people information. It's a good thing.
Let me ask you something, Mav.
Yes.
Mav, we'll just leave this super chat here up to appreciate Green Rush's kindness. Tell me this. With all the presidents, everything that's had, do you believe in aliens personally?
Yes. I have been a student of alien abductions specifically since I've been a kid. I read all the books. I watched Art Bell on the radio from 10 to midnight for years. Now it's George Norrie, 10 to 2 or 3 in the morning, I think. Then it gets repeated. And they talk about the mysteries of the universe. And one of those are aliens. And under the alien genre, there's so much to talk about. The Greys, the Nordic aliens, the technologies that they use, and whether or not we are back engineered, whether we have them in American custody. How about this? The Truman Agreement with the aliens, the signed agreement to allow them to abduct people in return for certain technologies, and that agreement was taken and signed contrary to the other aliens who offered some peace tools to create world peace because they knew we were a hostile environment. We chose just to have technologies to beat the Russians. And that is another genre. There are many paths you can head down, whether there's enough evidence. Or
do you think in mine or your lifetime we will ever get the truth from the president, the government, about aliens?
In 2018, there was a report generated by the Heritage Foundation, who was commissioned to do that report, I believe, by one of the intelligence agencies. They wanted and I'm sure it was the Heritage Commission anyway. I deserve to be corrected, but the point is, they did a report. What if the government were to announce, we know there's space aliens and they visit us? It indicated that society would collapse, and I read it, and it had all these terrible things that would occur because of the religious components to it, the psychological components to it. It went on and on with all these doomsday predictions. So it matches up with every intelligence information we have that it's not going to go well when the president announces it or when they land on the tarmac at the White House helicopter and it turns out to be a space alien. So it may not be as good of a day as you might hope.
So do you think it'll happen or it won't happen in our lifetime?
Hard to say. It's creeping out. It's creeping out, Archie, but it's not happening. I don't know.
Which president? Why has no president released this information?
Well, I think the same.
Do they not know? Do they know the truth?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Bill Clinton has said he did a full search and in the end cannot.
Would you trust anything out of Bill Clinton's mouth?
You know, Bill Clinton was a good president. He was a Democrat. Now, I know,
yes.
Okay, I saw some people calling me a liberal, and they don't know me. I'm a conservative. I'm a Trump lover. I probably shouldn't say that here. But the point is, Bill Clinton was a good Democrat who worked with Republicans in compromise to get a lot of things passed with his Republican Congress and conservative Newt Gingrich as the House Speaker. They worked together. They got things done. Now, he'll never get the credit he was due because Republicans had to go after him personally, and they had to impeach him and do all the things that he did on a personal level, but he was a reasonably good president. Hillary Clinton would have been nothing like Bill Clinton. And we know this. Going into that race, you knew that Bill Clinton was president of what was called the Blue Dog Democrats. Those were the most conservative Democrats in the country. It was a group. He formed it or was part of it. His wife could never join that group. They are distinctly different politically. So you have to understand that.
So tell me this. Out of all the presidents who would reveal the truth about aliens, which one would you?
Oh, Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Oh yeah, Donald Trump. He is a populist president. He wants, and he has, in fact, take a look at the list. Look it up on the internet for yourself. What has been released that has never been released before, and you'll see the categories.
Does Donald Trump know if aliens exist now or not?
Yes, he does, and he's declassifying all sorts of things. I hope he will get to that.
Is that good or bad? Is that for the good or the bad of the country?
I think it's for the good. I think it does depend what's in the backstory. Is it true that there's an agreement with aliens to allow abductions to take place in exchange?
When was this treaty signed? What era?
President Truman. Look up the year. Allegedly, President Truman did the signature at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe I even know the location.
And he signed it.
I don't know.
Who represented the aliens?
Well, the Greys.
Donald King. Could
have been anybody on behalf of the aliens. Maybe who knows?
Have any of the presidents been an alien themselves?
Well, that goes to another path. You know, there's so many paths, Archie, on alien stories. It's hard to say. We have enough trouble figuring out the truth of something that actually happened in public view. Have you ever noticed that? If something actually happens and you have 30 people watching it, this is a famous moment in any law school. I never mentioned to you, I went to a first semester law school, but the point is, in your first semester of criminal law, they put on a scene where everyone watches it and it's a crime. And then after it's over, they ask you to describe it in writing, and everyone saw something different. There are some commonalities that are noticed, and then there are things that just didn't happen. That's the nature of being human. So if we can't tell you what happened in front of our own eyes, the most least reliable witness is an eyewitness. People don't know that. And I just didn't give my opinion. That is empirical fact. An eyewitness is the least reliable source of a occurrence that can occur in a courtroom or anywhere else. So understand that. People don't. They think, oh, he said he saw it. Well, he made a mistake. He didn't see it. Or may not have seen it.
Would the vice president know the truth about aliens?
I doubt it. The vice president is only in a need-to-know basis. So the vice president does get a daily briefing.
Your favorite vice president?
My favorite, I don't think I have one. They're all fairly irrelevant except for Gerald R. Ford, who became president. So my famous vice president, Richard Nixon, appointed Gerald R. Ford because his vice president, Spiro Agnew, got in trouble with some minor tax evasion question. Nowadays, every American avoids taxes, not evades it. Avoidance is legal, evasion is illegal. The vice president evaded taxes. He had to resign. So they appointed Gerald R. Ford. Richard Nixon did, President Nixon, and he became president of the United States at a very short time later. So that's my favorite. And I drove him. I didn't drive him. I drove staff in his motorcade once when he came to Los Angeles.
Tell me this.
I was 16 years old when I was in the White House motorcade driving.
We got a couple super chats. Look at this here. Black Cat 9972 bucks, $2. The nuclear codes 12345. Thank you. And we've got.
How about? I thought it was 2468. Who do we assassinate? Remember that?
We've got another super chat here. Pelagic 6, $100. Green Rush 4313. It's all for Archie. Always. Thank you so much.
We have to. Oh, what a Pelagic 6. What a great man you are. But they don't. He's not even asking a question. What can we answer? We should look in the.
I want to ask you one thing. Which president hasn't had sex in the White House? He's in his office.
I'm suspecting President Bush Sr. There are 2 Bush presidents, and the first.
Correct. That's right. That's right. Senior.
I would put money on that one.
A very serious president.
There's a gentleman in the chats named Marcus Mandel 1848. He always has very overly complimentary things, and I would like to thank him personally for that, because he seems so kind and complimentary and absolutely right with almost everything he says in the chat regularly. I read every one of his messages all the time.
I want to tell you a story. Many years ago, I was friends with when I was friends with him, he was an associate professor of chemical engineering. Okay. Mm-hmm. He later became professor of chemical engineering. But when I knew him and I had this conversation, he was an associate professor of one of Australia's leading universities. And I asked him, do you believe in aliens?
What did he say?
And he said it would be very arrogant not to believe in aliens.
Oh, well, I understand that argument.
It would be very arrogant to say we are the most advanced life form, and we are the best. And he said that would be very, very arrogant to take that perspective. And he said to me, if the aliens wanted us to know they were here, they would have already done it.
Oh, of course. And Archie, I will suspect something that no one talks about, because I've read a lot and I have my own opinions. Here's one. It is possible the gray aliens are a form of AI robotized intelligence. I only go to that based on what we know. Here's an example, and astronomy is my hobby, but I got to tell you, in my 4th class of astronomy in college, the professor said I wasn't doing very well. He had me go to pass or fail because I couldn't grab the math. But let me tell you this, the nearest star system that has a planet that is like Earth and suspected to support life anyway, would, at our current technology, and I know this because I just saw it on YouTube, this topic, would take about 200 years to get there and get back at our current rate. That's just that's the closest valuable planet to look at. And we would have to have such advanced technology. And as you increase this technology to the theoretical technologies that are theoried, you do the math and you learn, well, now it's 70 years there and 70 years back. And we are so many levels away from that level of technology. The fact is, they would have to travel through the theoretic wormhole. They would have to travel at the speed of light, and that would be 4 or 5 or 6 years, I'm forgetting exactly, if they were traveling at the speed of light. This means it's likely they can't travel at the speed of light. They're using some sort of conventional means of travel, movement, energy, and probably they have to do this travel because they're not coming likely from the nearest star. They're coming from the Pleiades, which could be, how about a star system 1 million light years away. That means, I think, these are not living creatures. They may not be biological, or they may be a combination of biological and artificial intelligence. So
Do you believe in warp drive technology?
Oh yeah, that's one of the technologies I was referring to, but it is not the.
What do you think of that teleporter? They can
Yeah.
send
No.
you.
Well, you know, Archie, they're doing
You know
that.
Boeing and Airbus, and it was also McConnell Douglas. They quashed that technology because it would do away with.
Okay, but hold on. You're talking about the Star Trek.
Yes.
Transporter. Okay.
Yes.
They have, whoever they are. I read about it. I can't remember. I'm not a scientist. I can't remember who the source, who did it. But you're talking about it. They actually transported an item. They made it disappear and they made it reappear. But this is practically at the molecular level, a very small thing, because bigger things are harder to do. So it's been proven it can be done. They're working on it. I don't know about the killing of that technology, but they really should, because then we don't have to take planes anymore. You're right.
Yes, it'd be.
You know what I would do? I would hop in my transporter right now, and I would come to Australia, and you would have to make room in the office, and we'd sit next to each other and do this show together, or vice versa.
How about if you could get, you saw that movie where you had, instead of going on a vacation, you simply get the memories put into you.
Right. What was that movie? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I have a dear friend that might be watching this show, and his wife suffered, I won't say his name, his wife suffered from very significant physical impairments. She died recently, God bless her, and impairments because of things that might not have been real.
Mm-hmm.
Because her head believed these electronic components and rays were affecting her health, and she was physically impaired. So a psychological impairment is real to the person feeling it, is real as something that is in fact a natural biological cause. So we should never put down anyone who imagines things that we know are imaginable, because that's what our imagination makes it real to us. And I'm not talking about crazy people, schizophrenics. I'm talking about the category of people that work and are able to operate in our society, will often have these conditions that make them believe something that is absolutely not true.
I want to ask you a final question there. Why do the aliens negotiate with the US and US presidents as opposed to the Russians, the Chinese, or the Israelis? Can you explain that?
Oh my goodness, Archie, that's an easy question. America is a Christian Judaic society. We are on the side of good, and in this world there is only two types of people, good and evil. We are on the side of good, or better, and it's easy to determine from an empirical standpoint who is good and bad without opinions being drawn in, actual empirical fact. In America, there are exceptions to every rule, but we are basically good, and they could see that. And we are also the most powerful. There is, at the time, remember, we're talking about the 40s. There was no comparison in any country comparable to the United States at that time. So, oh, by the way, Archie, I am wearing. We didn't know we were going to talk about space aliens, but I wore my rocket shirt. I have a universe on the background of the rocket shirt, and as I like to say, if I was in charge of SpaceX, we would have been at Mars already.
Is Elon Musk an alien?
You know, Archie, really anything is possible, but I doubt it. I just think he's half genius, half lunatic.
Mm-hmm. Half genius, half lunatic.
But the problem is NASA has lost the moon landing technology because it was in analog. It was literally in binders and it was in documents, very minimal amounts on computers. So when Elon went to say, hey, give me your technology, the NASA had to say, oops, we can't find it. They lost the mechanical technology to get to the moon. So the whole thing has to be. Do
you believe we actually went to the moon?
Oh yeah. That is a bunch of hooey and nonsense, like the Flat Earth Society people. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. There is absolutely no reasonable evidence to it. We've gone to the moon every time we said.
And why would you fake it multiple times? If you're going to fake it, you fake it once and move away from it.
Move away from it. First of all, Archie, you know, you could never. There's a movie on this topic, best movie ever on this topic, and there have been a lot because I enjoy movies of this topic. Capricorn 1. Look it up. It is really good.
Is it any better than Malibu Vampires?
Oh,
Malibu Beach
Vampires. I did that because my friend Creighton, the producer, Francis Creighton is what he wanted to be called, said, I'm going to make you a star and put you in a movie. It was the most ridiculous movie of all, but it was terrible. But I did what I was told. I was Congressman Terry Upstart.
Has that movie ever come up in your career?
Oh, it has come up as the worst movie ever. You know what's funnier, better than the movie? Go online, find it, and read the reviews. They are so good, they're printable. And I printed them and handed them out to friends years ago because they were hysterical. The reviewers were heartless, but funny. Yeah.
Marcus Allen, we're almost at time. I want to thank you for coming on. We've got another super chat, couple super chats, catch up. Black Cat 997. We figured this show out next week. Jimmy Hoffer, Teamsters Union. Black Cat 997, $2. Macron's wife, really a woman? I actually think Macron's wife, I quite like her. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. But, you know, Archie, I have an opinion on this. The woman that exposed this, Candace Owens.
She's got children. That woman, Macron's wife, has some daughters, for God's sake.
Look, Candace Owens, a conservative, Trump-loving podcaster, and I'm a Trump-loving guy, is hateful. She's mean. And like Tucker Carlson, who's not hateful and mean, but heads down these paths that maybe you shouldn't. I don't like either one of those podcasters. And she put this out. I thought it was very mean to go after his wife, whether the wife is a man or a woman. And, you know, he actually went to her directly and said, please leave my wife alone. And she just doubled down on it. I mean, who does that? It's not right.
Exactly. And I mean, seriously, you know, I actually think Macron's wife is actually pretty gorgeous. And I can understand why he fell in love with her, because she's incredibly intelligent, incredibly stylish. She's she's fucking nice. Well, I don't understand why there's so nastiness like that out there.
And I don't know. Is it been is it clear whether she is a man or a woman? I mean, does anyone really?
No, but they're just being assholes.
Yeah.
They're just being ass. I mean,
Doesn't
it's so rude. You don't even entertain it. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
so.
That's why I don't even know, and I don't care. But I'm inundated, and I have to force to be listening to whether she is or isn't, and all the hate. And there is hate. The moment you say that woman is a man, whether she is or not, out comes the haters. Now, look, I can't wrap my personal head around a transvestite, transsexual, whatever you want to call them. Sorry, I can't.
She's a woman, for God's sake. That was his teacher.
All right, fine,
I mean,
but I am not going to be critical of your choice of your
no, but
life.
this is exactly what happens. See, it gets ridiculous.
Yeah,
He married an older woman. Big deal. Men marry younger women. Look at Math, for example. You only like you.
That's right.
Age gap relationship. Who's fucking busy? If they're happy and they like it, well, who fucking cares? Whose business is it really? Whose business is it really?
Yeah, and Marcus Mandel makes a good point in his comment. He says Marcus, meaning me, his name is similar, doesn't desire women under 18. Of course not. I don't desire women under 21. I want a woman that is out of school, a woman that has a career planned, and it seems to me you got to be between 21 and 24 to do that.
No, 100% right there. We've got another super chat in here. So I think Macron, I actually like his wife. I really like her. We've got Ivar 17, $5. Knowing what you know now, would your 21-year-old self still have gone to USC instead of its rival UCLA or UC Berkeley, which are overcrowded? Why?
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, first of all, you cannot compare. Now, I'm not doing a USC rival thing here. I'm just telling you the facts. You cannot compare USC to UCLA. UCLA is a public school. USC is a private school. They are distinctly different. USC is in a bad part of Los Angeles. UCLA is in the rich neighborhoods. Let's put Berkeley aside for a second. So I don't think there's a comparison. You have to have much better grades to get into UCLA, because when I went there, I believe the price was $2,000 or $3,000 a semester, and I was paying $7,000 or $8,000 a semester. Now, I looked it up. The yearly rate at USC is about $80,000. This is just for classes, not residents, not living there. I lived on campus. So clearly, I would not give up USC. Also, remember, I attended Yale, Harvard, Pepperdine, Moore Park Community College, Whittier Law School, for what it's worth. I forgot to mention once when I don't put that on my list. Anyway, the point is, I attended a lot of universities, and it was the best. It was the best place to be year round, notwithstanding weather. So withstanding the weather, because the weather was terrible at Yale and Harvard during winters. Berkeley is a leftist institution that doesn't deserve the praise it gets, but it does have, it's a public school, UC Berkeley. One last thing, when I applied for
college, Total Recall, the movie, Total Recall.
Total Recall, but okay.
1990
college. I will tell you one last funny story. We're running over time. One last funny story. I applied to a bunch of colleges, but I went to Pepperdine and hated it. That's where I wanted to go. I got in and I hated it. I had my reasons. Pepperdine University in Malibu, about 8 miles away from my home. And I transferred to USC and I loved it. And while I was at USC, I wanted to experience other colleges. So I went back and forth, and then used all my credits, except for the ones earned at Pepperdine, to get my degree at USC. But I applied to Stanford. And on the application of Stanford, it said, "What is your race?" And I lied. I checked black, the black box. And then the question on the application, I just did it for fun, paid $35, whatever it was, and filed the application. The application said, "Here's your question for the essay. Your house is essentially, it was your house was burned down. What will you take with you and why?" And I put on the application, this application, then I burnt the edges of the paper, I checked the box that I was black, and I sent it in. And I got accepted to Stanford University. And I knew I couldn't show up, even though I could go under the pseudonym Marcus Allen, who was a famous football player at USC, mind you, with let's just say a better tan than myself. So I could not go to Stanford. I went to USC and loved it. There's your answer.
Very, very well done. It's been a fabulous show today. We had a lot of fun, a lot of great topics. And I'd love to see you next week on the show, Marcus.
We'll see you then. And remember, I'm Marcus Allen Frishman.
And you're not. See you later, guys. Great show